Welcome, everyone, to Rock M Radio. This is a brand new episode of Dive Cuts. I'm your host, Sam Snelling. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see it over here. And as you'll see, I'm alone. So not a full episode of Dive Cuts. When I'm alone, it usually means that I've got a guest lined up. I'm super excited about this episode because we reached out to the Missouri basketball staff and asked to talk to somebody over there. And poor assistant coach Matt Cline drew the short straw and has to talk to the dude from Rock M Nation. So we're going to talk to Missouri basketball assistant coach Matt Cline. We go into everything from his background, how he and Dennis Gates found each other, to how they apply analytics in their shooting, in their offense, in their defense. And then we'll get to all the kind of updates on what's going on with Missouri basketball players as they kicked off practice today. Today being September 24th. It is a Tuesday evening. So really excited for this conversation for everybody to listen. So without any further ado, Mr. Matt Cline. And I'd like to welcome to the podcast for the first time a big fan of our website, I hear, and an assistant coach for the Missouri men's basketball program, Matt Cline. Matt, how are you tonight?
I'm great, Sam. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on with you.
Well, we're excited to have you. I figure the first thing that we should probably get into is, very clearly, Dennis Gates is the face of the Missouri basketball program. I think a lot of Missouri fans are pretty accustomed to seeing him out in front. It's sometimes kind of hard to miss CY with as animated as he can be at times. But a lot of the rest of the staff, you guys kind of fly under the radar, and I think there's a lot of fans don't really know a whole lot about you. So let's kind of start with a little bit on who Matt Cline is. And let's start by, how did you end up meeting Dennis Gates? How did that work out?
Yeah, so I'm from Binghamton, New York. Grew up just a pretty good basketball player where I was from. Played high school ball, played junior college in New York, Division III junior college. After that season, I helped coach a local AAU travel team. Got the advice from the head coach of that team to, if I was interested in coaching, to go ahead and be a student manager. And ended up that summer kind of sending letters and resumes all over the country to be a student manager. Fast forward to August, I get a call from the University of South Alabama, Ronnie Arrow, and he offered me a position to be a student manager. And that was on a Thursday night. I accepted the position Friday morning, was on a plane Saturday, and school started Monday. And I've never been to Alabama before that, never seen the campus. And so that was the beginning of my coaching journey, and spent 4 years there. My first experience in getting uncomfortable in order to get to where you want to go. My dream was to be a Division I coach, and I knew I had to kind of get out of my comfort zone if I wanted to achieve that dream. Has also allowed me to have kind of empathy for our student athletes who come from all over the country and the world, and to come play basketball here. So I always am empathetic towards them as they travel. But anyways, after my 4 years at South Alabama, I became a graduate assistant at Florida State, and my first year as a graduate assistant was Coach Gates' first year as an assistant coach at FSU as well. And that's where we met. And over the course of the next decade, Coach Gates was somebody I could always call upon for not only professional advice, but personal advice. Always there, always going to answer your call. And luckily, gratefully, linked up with him at Cleveland State for 1 year. My role there was special assistant to the head coach, and then came with him to Mizzou, and was really grateful that he brought me with him. And so really grateful for a relationship with Coach Gates. He's the best.
But yeah, and so also there's been some changes to how the NCAA has allowed you guys to sort of allocate, who can do what within the program. And previously it was, you pretty much had your head coach, your three assistants, and then whatever else team that you wanted. But those guys were really limited in what they could do, in and around, practice, recruiting, and all that kinds of stuff. So shifting into a little bit of a different role where you are kind of going from a little bit more behind the scenes to a little bit more on the floor and getting involved in recruiting. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, so our first year here, myself and Coach Charbaugh, who were with him at Cleveland State, came in kind of support staff positions. My title was chief of staff, and Coach Charbaugh's was a special assistant to the head coach. And then we had Coach Nutt, CY, Coach Smith Peters as our three primary assistants. The next year, the rule changed where now Division I staffs can have 5 full-time assistants, um, with some limited recruiting rules in that as well. So Coach Charbaugh and I in our second year could be on the floor, could do all the coaching just like anybody else. And now this year, it's 5 full-time assistants. Everybody can recruit. We just can't be out at the same time. Only 4 guys, 4 out of our 6 full-time coaches can be out at once. So now it's great because not only on top of the on-court responsibilities can get out and recruit, and something I've had experience with mid-major programs in the past, and it's fun to do it, at this level under the leadership and guidance of Coach Gates.
Yeah, of all the the sort of responsibilities that you have as an assistant coach, like, where would you rank your recruiting on that? And do you
Yeah,
absolutely love the recruiting? Because I know like there's a lot of coaches that maybe burns them out a little bit with the amount of time and effort it requires.
it's definitely a collaborative effort here under Coach, and obviously CY, Coach Smith Peters, do a heavy amount of recruiting for us. They're very in the know. I kind of try to focus on maybe some of the younger kids, and I was in junior college. That's how I got my start at Northwest Florida Junior College as a volunteer assistant. So I like to still dabble in that, make sure we're myself and Coach Smith Peters, who coached at Logan. But definitely, it's not my primary responsibility. But what I probably enjoy the most is portal recruitment. And I'm really, from the time the portal starts, from the time the season's over until the time it closes, I'm just super intrigued, and I love to kind of dive into, okay, who can fit our team, and love getting on the phone and talking to prospective student athletes, that are in the portal. And so that would be, yeah, that's how I
It's
describe that.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's become an absolute sprint from like the moment that the portal opens. I know just from our perspective of covering it, just basically like once the portal opens, you've got your bookmark tweets of like who you're trying to
Yeah.
follow, and who you guys have even like touched base with, who's where the interest is blooming there, and who you're trying to get to campus, which is you guys actually probably do a better job of most programs of keeping some of that stuff under wraps. So, which isn't always good for fans to not know what's going on, but
Right.
but it definitely, I think it helps from your perspective. One of the things that I do want to kind of talk a little bit about, and I think it's important. I think Rockham Nation, our reputation is more of an analytics site. We're kind of known. The founder is a guy who did a lot of, is basically the creator of college football analytics for SP Plus, Bill Connolly. He also branched into doing stuff with college basketball, but a lot of it was just sort of applying the Dean Oliver since I've been on. Me and Matt Harris and now Matt Watkins have expanded this a bit, and we've kind of got carried away at times. Analytics is something that maybe slowly, but has certainly taken hold of basketball. It's all over the NBA, and it is now taking hold in a lot of programs at the college level.
Yeah.
Most of the things like like you can get players to sort of buy in on certain statistics to be able to track, like points per possession on offense and defense. I mean, are there any things that like you guys sort of preach to your guys, in meetings and all that kind of stuff as like things that they should be paying attention to?
Right. Yeah, no, it's a great question because we definitely don't want to like overwhelm them, but also want to share with them important data that they'll know not only here and important, relevant for here, well, at Mizzou and in the SEC, but beyond in professional and NBA, because it's going to be shared with them, for several years to come. So we definitely want to lay that foundation for them when they get here in the summertime. Literally the first week, one of the first things we talk about is shot selection and shot profile. And with so many new guys, obviously we have a lot of data from the transfers and returning players. But we'll break down their shot profile, what it currently looks like, what it's looked like over the past few years, and then like we'll collaborate through discussion about where we want it to be. And that's probably the basic foundation. We definitely want them to understand points per possession. We want them to understand, shooting a layup is worth 2 points. Shooting a non-rim two from 17 away is worth 2 points. You shoot 60% from two or from 3 feet away. You shoot 36% from 17 feet away. Let's do the math. Let's multiply it. That's called points per possession. Okay. Shooting 33% from three is the same as shooting 50% from two. Just like basic math with them. And some guys you can dive in a little deeper. Some guys are super intrigued. And then some guys you just build that basic foundation. So that's as far as shot profile, that's what we do with them.
So one of the common misnomers that I think that the analytics crowd would say is that basically analytics is anti mid-range shot.
Yeah.
And as a numbers guy, like I feel like I have to scream into the ether as often as I can that is not what analytics is telling you. Analytics is simply telling you like what the best shot can be for each guy and what your offense is trying to get to. So for some guys, a mid-range shot is the best shot.
Yeah.
And I think like that's one of those things that gets sort of missed in the discussion of analytics is, and I'm just going to maybe put some words in your mouth, but it seems like you're basically saying like you're not going out and telling player X that he can't shoot that shot. You're telling him that when he does shoot that shot, it's going to net him around this much, points per shot versus getting a layup versus taking a three and all that kind of stuff.
Correct. I think it's all about, okay, how can you become the most efficient player possible? Let's make you the most efficient player possible. And this is how we can do that. This is the areas we want to attack on the floor. This is where you're really good from. This is where you struggle with. And some guys, have certain spots on the floor over just last year that they shot really low from maybe perhaps right in between the free throw line and the restricted arc. And, that 6 feet area, like the NBA calls that area 31, sprawl ball. A book called Sprawl Ball talks about that area 31 where, right where that SEC logo is a super tough shot because often it involves tons of contact, very contested, multiple hands. And so as a result, how can we also not only educate them, but formulate our workouts through different constraints so that we can develop them and make them really good decision makers when they get to the paint. So at the end of the day, it's not taking away, you got to frame it in a way that, it's not in a negative connotation, but just like, okay, we want to make you the most efficient player possible. And here's how we're going to do that.
And then when you're trying to like set up the offense, obviously like, beginning stages, you're trying to just sort of make sure that guys are comfortable taking shots from certain areas because those are generally the shots that the offense is looking to create. Are you using analytics as far as like, what parts of the floor you're trying to get the ball to and like where maybe the weak areas are, like avoiding that? Like, how do you use the numbers, what they're telling you to sort of shape what kind of offense and where the shots are going to come from?
So in the summer, what we do is we place constraints on our guys through 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, where, we'll give a certain amount of points. For instance, maybe 4 points for a rim shot, 4 points for a 3-pointer, 1 point for a mid-range or non-rim two. So all of a sudden, that constraint is manipulating their behavior for a particular outcome. Well, the outcome is layups and threes. And all you're doing is, if they want to win and be competitive and stay on the court, then they're going to shoot layups and threes because the non-rim two is worth 1 point. So it's a simple way to manipulate, shape their behavior that we do. And sometimes maybe we won't give them any points for a non-rim two. But you learn through, like Sean East was good at those spots. He proved he shot like 49%, I think. Tamar Bates shot 48%. That being said, I just met with Tamar the other day, even though he shot, particular high percentage from non-rim two last year, there were certain spots on the floor where he was really hot, and some where he wasn't so hot. So just educating him on that. Okay, let's work on that in player development and see what let's chart how many you make out of 10 3 times, and let's work on that. And then by the time the season starts, obviously you want to play your strengths moving forward, but constant education, each guy every 2-3 weeks, you're going to be educated on your particular individual development through a holistic approach, collaborating with the entire staff. So
yeah, and then as the sort of season progresses, as guys are sort of I guess the data becomes more robust. Are you shaping your offense from those standpoints to try to get to the guys to their strong areas?
Yeah, and again, that's just constant communication and updating, and comes from our head coach, Coach Gates, and through individual meetings, through small group meetings, through team meetings. After each game, we show them our shot profile for that game. Oftentimes, we talk about it at halftime, and so yeah, definitely. I mean, every game they'll see it post game. They'll know their individual ones. Every couple games they'll share, okay, here's your data for your high quality shots, your low quality shots. Because on top of just like there's a difference between shooting a layup and shooting a high quality layup and shooting a low quality layup. There's a difference between shooting a high quality three and a low quality three. And so they'll get that as well constantly throughout the year.
And so, like, just for the sake of the audience, explain the difference between a high quality and low quality, specifically in like the 3-point range. Like how would you define that for the players?
That's a good question. Well, our rubric is: are you within range? Are you in rhythm? Are you open? And are you balanced? So a little tiny bit subjective, because you'd want to guys who are very adaptable shooters and players are going to be a little bit different shot quality. They can make tough shots. So like, again, are you within range? That's different for really everybody, but 3-point shooters, but your centers are you within range? Are you in rhythm? Right. Did you catch it, with your feet set, ready to shoot? Were you low hips, early hands? Were you not shot ready? Were you stiff right before you received the ball? Are you open? So we do a ton of training with our guys in the summer and leading up in the preseason and throughout the year of perceiving the closeout. It's very important to understand every shot in a game is preceded by a decision. So your training should reflect that. We don't do a ton of on-air shooting, no defender on air. Because perceiving that closeout is super important. We want to make 0.5 decisions when we catch the ball. So you're most open when you first catch the ball. So those are all kind of things we talk about. So anyways, that's open. And then balance, right? Are you running away from your shot when you on your follow through? Are you sticking your landing, holding your follow through? Coach CY is fantastic with teaching that and the discipline with that. So again, collaborative effort by our staff, but so I'll try to do it during games and reiterate it at halftime, but oftentimes it's tough. There's so much going on, but definitely post game they'll see, okay, here's our high quality shot total from rim. Here's our low quality. Here's our high quality and low quality from mid range. Here's our high quality and low quality from three. And what it shows is that, like, over the years, when we shoot a low quality shot, it's a 25% shot. Okay. And when we shoot a high quality shot, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like a 60. It's really, really high. And so, like, when you can meet that criteria, we want to focus on those high quality shots.
Yeah, one of the things, and I think I heard this on a broadcast, and I feel like it was last year, maybe it was the year before, but one of the favorite quotables you kind of hear from different coaches, and somebody had said that Coach Gates, one of the things that he had talked about was that we shoot strikes, and kind of in, I guess, accompanying your discussion of like a quality shot, one of the most important things is not just the player himself being shot ready, but also, having a deliverable pass.
Yeah.
And, and shooting that strike means that you're like, if you get that ball in your shooting pocket and you're ready, you should shoot it. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think one of the things that we kind of tracked, and I don't really think we completely made it public on Rock M Nation, but we tracked a lot of, how many shots, was Mizzou taking where, it was a strike versus, it was a tough pass. And is that another thing that you guys were able to track at all? Because I know that you probably got a shot quality measure or some kind of number for that, or is that a visual factor?
We haven't tracked that. We've talked about that in some of our off-season retreats. But yeah, definitely a point of emphasis on a daily basis with throwing strikes, not balls. Again, CY is really big into that. Coach Summers does a really great job with some passing drills on a daily basis with our guys. But at the same time, I'm interested to hear the data you got from that too. By the way,
we'll have to ping Matt Watkins. I think he was one of those that's keeping track of that.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, we don't track, our percentage off of a strike versus off of a ball, but something maybe we should look into.
Well, it's also one of those things that's fairly easy to figure out, but it also kind of couples, so a lot of the listeners will know that the three of us went up to watch you guys practice, and one of my favorite drills that you ran, just as a former coach, is you always loved the simpler drills, but it was just the 4-man passing drill that you guys had, or a sort of a pass and cut drill, and it was working all on the outside of the shell, and it was really trying to work on making sure you're hitting that outside hand. It's also it's funny because the time of year that you're watching, those guys were not very good at it. But as they get used to their teammates and as the reps come and all that kind of stuff, that they will improve. But that is just one of those things, the quality of the pass. And even as an analytics guy, I think there is so much about analytics that provides us information, but it's still important to watch. You have to watch. You have to look at film. You have to understand what the goals are, and you have to do all those things to really give yourself the most informed opinion. Pivoting a little bit to defense,
okay,
because I do think this is a little bit of an interesting topic. The last couple of years, Missouri has not been a good defense on a points per possession basis.
Mm-hmm.
The main culprit from that seems to be offensive rebounding.
I
think you guys know that more than even we do. We could talk all day long about wanting to create turnovers, wanting to put pressure on that first shot. If you don't secure the rebound, it makes a lot of those early efforts difficult. So how are you guys, sort of looking at, your defensive metrics and what you're doing as far as, especially kind of closing the gap on some of those things, particularly in the SEC, where there's a lot of teams that like to hit the offensive glass hard?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something so year one, we kind of coach, quoted as saying something that he'd rather win 25 games than win the rebounding battle, right? And
right,
so year one, we were kind of a unique situation because we were so super handsy, Des Moines Hodge, and we kind of got away with it. And year two,
You also shot the ball really well.
Really well.
Yeah, that helps.
A lot of turnovers, and all those steals we got. So, and then we played super fast after opponent made baskets. And so we got up the floor. So anyways, year two, yeah, I mean, just, a lot of different things you could point it to. At the end of the day, it's something that we're focusing really hard on this year from day one in the summer. I think there's so many different things that you could point at of that you you are what you emphasize, and we've definitely moved that up to the point of emphasis, not only in practice plans and development and daily consequences and all that, and charting, and Coach Smith Peters leads that. Coach Sharbaugh, really good. But we addressed it in our recruiting, we feel like, portal, and with our freshman class, with size, positional size, guys who have a history in the portal of rebounding the ball at a high level. Man, our practice is much more physical this year. I mean, it's super, super physical. So, no, we're looking forward to addressing that, and making sure that, we're ending possessions with not only getting those highly contested shots, taking away the rim, and contesting threes, contesting those mid-range shots, but it's critical. You gotta finish the possessions with a rebound. And we all, we want to continue to be super. I'm excited. Our offense is getting better because our defense is really physical and lengthy, and a lot of guys with positional size. So we're excited.
Well, that's actually probably a good place for us to kind of pivot to personnel. Because I agree with you. I think that a lot of the the rebounding struggles the last couple of years can be directly attributed to personnel. Last year in particular, you were very small up front. The starting backcourt, everybody loves Nick Honor, but he's an easy guy to target on defense, and he's not going to get you a lot of rebounds, at least as long as they're not bouncing to an open area of the floor where he can kind of go get them. But this year, yeah. So, like without kind of going through who we think is going to start, I mean, obviously you're importing a guy like Mark Mitchell.
Yeah.
Whether you want to play him at the 3 or the 4, he's going to have great size and athleticism for the spot. Tony Perkins, another situation, having great size for his position. Yeah. Growing obviously Josh Gray is a big, strong dude. The look of the team is already going to help kind of impact a lot of those numbers just on their own.
Yeah, I mean, you named it. I mean, guys like Tony Perkins, who averaged nearly 5 rebounds a game in the Big Ten, one of the most physical leagues in the country. Mark Mitchell, really high rebounding rate. Josh Gray, 2 years ago, one of the best in the country in offensive rebounding rate. Caleb Grill, our best rebounder last year when he played 9 games, and he's our top rebounder, returning rebounder at 6'3", but just plays so hard. Tamar Bates is going to be a better rebounder this year. That's one of the things we've addressed, in his player development, that he's taken really seriously. And he's a guy that should, with his size and athleticism. So, and then we got all our freshmen have really great size. I mean, they're all phenomenal athletes. So across the board, like you're saying, we've addressed it with our recruiting, and we're excited. It's fun to watch.
So individual players, let's maybe start with some of the freshmen. Are there any guys in that initial freshman class who have really kind of stood out and impressed you that maybe you weren't quite expecting them to play at the level that they're at?
I mean, I think you can point to each one of them and highlight something that, that they've been doing really well this year. T.O. Barrett is super, super intense defensively. Makes it tough on everybody on a daily basis on the ball. Still learning principles and all that, but dynamic in transition. You got Honor Boateng, whose intangibles are off the chart, really vocal leader for being such a young player, physical driver, has shown the ability to knock down shots. Marcus Allen, versatile, has the attributes to be an elite defender with his big hand, looks like Kawhi Leonard, right? With his big hands and long wingspan, and really good post-up player, could turn those cuts in our offense to post-ups, something we really haven't been able to do. Last year, like Kobe Brown, our first year, we'd like to cut to post-up, and Marcus has shown to do that. And then you look at Peyton Marshall, who you could throw the ball to on the block, and he could score, and he could play inside and outside, and good feel for the game. And then Trent Burns, who at 7'5", we remeasured him a couple weeks ago, 7'5", Again,
Crazy.
I mean, fun skill set, play inside and out. Look, I mean, he's the type where, in the player development sessions, it's so fun because he's so versatile, and you could do a lot with him. He's put on 20 pounds this offseason.
Wow.
So and his rim protection is extraordinary. For being so tall and so long, the timing he has to stay down on shot fakes, and every day he's getting better at those pinch post reads and progressions, and obviously he's a lob threat. He can shoot from three. So all 5 freshmen have some really fun potential to look forward to.
Nice. Pretty big transfer class also. Very clearly, I think most people are excited about, Mark Mitchell, Tony Perkins. I think those guys, the highlights. But there's a lot of quality. Jacob Cruz is a guy who, looks like he could be a flamethrower from distance. I was like, as soon as we saw Jordan Butler decide to enter the transfer portal, and then consequently you saw Josh Gray pop in, I'm like, I would make that trade like right today. And sure enough, it happened. As far as like putting together like those guys, how have they sort of fit into the program so far?
I mean, I think seamlessly. Jacob, like you said, microwave. I think him and Quez, Marquez Ward, the term I like to use for them that I think best describes them is they're adaptable. And what I mean by adaptable, they could perform at a high clip in a variety of different situations. So like, they don't need to get the perfect pass to make a shot. They don't need to have their footwork set exactly this way to make the shot. You could tell they played a lot of basketball. They got a lot of basketball under their belt, and they're very adaptable. And Mark Mitchell, I think similar to kind of Kobe, I was surprised, with how well he handles the ball and passes the ball, something I don't think we saw nearly enough on film. And kind of same thing with Kobe when we first got here. Didn't really see that on film. Then we show up in spring workouts, like, whoa. And, felt that way with Mark this summer. And he's continuing to work on his 3-point shot. And he's a really tough to stay in front of, attacking the basket. Josh Gray, we know what he does. He's got 4 years SEC experience, offensive rebounding. And honestly, he's shown some like stuff we didn't see on film from him either. Like, whoa, where'd that come from? Like being able to, keep in those pinch post catches and 1-2 dribble finish at the rim. And then obviously Tony Perkins. So with Tony, what's exciting for him is, I told him this the first 2 weeks he was here. He was top 10 on all those analytics sites, and when he was in the portal, right? Super highly sought after player in the portal. And his shot profile from Iowa, like, he still has so much room for improvement, yet he was a top 10 transfer. And so, like, it's scary, like, the potential for Tony, because if we can clean up and increase, like, he shot 63% of the rim last year, but he only got there, I think, 35% of the time. So how do we get you there 50% of the time? He shoots 80% from the free throw line. How do we do that? And then, he's been shooting it really well. So let's rim in 3, but still leave room for your really skilled shots around the paint. So cleaning that stuff up, like with Tony, is scary, because like his offensive and defensive efficiency at Iowa, like they were so much better with him on the court. And they were so much. One of the stats with Tony that's interesting, when he was on the court, the team shot 36% from 3. When he was off the court, the team shot 32% from 3. Yet he was only a 30% 3-point shooter. So that's interesting, right? So, and he's a way better shooter than advertised, I think, too. So I know it's kind of long-winded. We hit on everybody, but
no, I'm on board going through. And I obviously missed Marquez, and I didn't want to do that.
No.
But he's another guy. Like I'm excited to kind of see what he's going to do. obviously, like, a guy coming from a position where he's just so high usage. I think he was playing like 90% of the minutes, which is an insane number for anybody to play. And so stepping up into a program, with larger profile, hopefully being able to kind of scale back, the amount of usage and his minutes could, be an efficiency boon for him.
I think with Quez, so you got to look at the team last year. They had injuries to their point guard position, who was a really good player. Can't remember the kid's name, but he was a freshman when we were at Cleveland State. He was a really good player. So all of a sudden, Quez, he's Batman and Robin, for them. And so, tons were asked out of him. So he comes here, and it reminds me a little bit of Des Moines, where Des Moines comes and he's around a little bit higher level, like his teammates, higher skill level. And Des Moines' efficiency skyrockets. And so perhaps, same with Quez, right? Like he's around some really talented guys. And I think, for like, it's amazing. He's the leading returning scorer in college basketball. Yet, man, he lets the game come to him. And it's fun to watch because he's really a super savvy and smart basketball player, and that's really impressive for being the returning scorer in all college basketball to let the game come to you. And so we're excited the way he fits in.
He is the leading returning scorer by a good amount. He is also the leading minutes getter of every because there's a truckload of like 5th and 6th year guys right now, and but nobody has played more college basketball minutes than Marquez Warwick.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I did a whole off-season project where I went through each roster and pulled minutes on everybody. So I've got some extensive output on that. So the last thing I want to hit on is the guys coming back.
Yeah.
You've kind of talked about Tamar. Obviously, I think Caleb Grill is a guy who's pretty overlooked, and I think a lot of people sort of trying to prognosticate what Missouri is going to be this year are probably overlooking quite a bit. What Caleb would have meant to this team when he got hurt last year.
Yeah, Caleb has been just a joy to coach since the moment he's gotten here from Iowa State. He's really taken on, once we learned that he was going to return with the medical waiver, has taken on a leadership role, has worked hard on his leadership skills on and off the court, and he models appropriate behavior on a daily basis as far as work ethic, discipline. And so just he leads by great example with our freshmen and our returners. He wants to set that foundation of our culture and carry out our core values that coach preaches of a flat duet. So, he's been shooting it really well. He's a guy, again, led our team in rebounds, wants to guard, the most vocal defensively on the court, wants to guard the other team's best player. So we're lucky to have Caleb back for another year. And Tamar, shooting those 50, 40, 90 splits almost last year. Excited to see him. We talk about this in our meetings. We want to play faster this year. We want to get back to the pace we played at. Again, surrounding him with guys who can shoot the ball, at a high clip. When he gets back to playing in space, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for him because there's going to be more space on the floor for him. We're going to be playing faster. He's going to he was really efficient in transition last year. He'll get more opportunities in transition this year. And he's a guy that's about his business every day and, handles it like a pro. And he's adamant on increasing those rebounding numbers. And, and then we talk about Aiden Shaw and Trent Pierce and, again, guys that have been in the program and understand what coach wants, and their development's been great. They're here all the time. They're working. As we've been going through this, my office looks out the window. I've seen Aiden Shaw come in. I've seen Caleb Grill come in. So, guys coming in late to get extra work in. So, it's just an exciting time. We're excited to move forward, and Yeah, I mean, we got a healthy mix of freshmen with loads of potential and guys that are just really eager on a daily basis. The transfers that have been through the battles and returners that really want to carry out coach's culture, teach it to the new guys, and set daily standards for everybody to carry out. So it's a super healthy mix, and I think we covered everybody. I know we got 18 guys. I've got to give a shout out to my guys. Oh, and Robinson. So, and Robinson, one of the most disruptive defenders in the country as a freshman. His hands are so quick. I mean, his feet, he's so agile. I mean, nobody wants to bring the ball up versus Ant in practice.
He is a pest and like the best possible way. Yeah.
Yes. But we got to get his per 40 fouls down. And he knows that. And he works super hard with CY on his jump shot, and that's improving. And overall, his development's been really good. And then obviously we have JV Brown, Danny Stevens, and Jeremy Sanchez, who are phenomenal on a daily basis. We love them, and they're getting better every day.
It's not easy being a walk-on as showing up to practice every day, going up against guys who are in a lot of cases better than you are.
They love it though. They love it. I mean, don't tell them that. They don't think. I mean, they're ready. They lace up their shoes just like everybody else, and they're ready to go at it, and that's what we need. And so we're really thankful to have them, and they are great ambassadors in the locker room. So they're phenomenal.
Yeah, I will say I do think that the quality of the walk-ons, especially with I've only seen Jeremy a little bit, obviously at the last practice, but I did actually pull full tape on on the other two guys. Yeah, like when they committed, I was just like, I'm curious what they and I think Danny could probably play at like a mid-major for sure. Like he's a nice looking player.
And he's gained 30 pounds of muscle since his freshman year. Since he first came here, his body looks fantastic, shoots it really well, and really great young man. I mean, just about his business and limits distractions, everything you want to ask for out of a student athlete. Jeremy Sanchez, I don't know if you pulled up his film, but he when he was at Cleveland State, it was the year before I got there when they won the championship. I hope I get this right. I think it is, but coach put him in the conference championship game at halftime. They were down. Jeremy was playing sparingly minutes, and he makes huge plays down the stretch for them to win it. I think to go to the championship game. It was in the semis, and it was versus IPFW. Anyways, like Sanchez is, built at the same mold of Ben Sternberg, and just we made that call this offseason, and we wanted him here because he's all about the team.
Yeah, see, now you're going to make me pull up Synergy and go through his film.
You'll find he got a deflection. We were, how we play like the 1-3-1 based on out of bounds defense. And he got a deflection. They tried to throw it out towards half court. He tipped it and goes in for a layup on the other end. And it was like a crucial play of the game. Sparked the whole bench up. And I can't remember, the details after that, but I know like we've watched that clip over and over in the office.
Yeah, as you should. Great. Well, I've got my games already queued up, so I'll watch that after we get off. That's all I've got for you, Coach.
Okay.
I know that I was kind of hoping to get you out of here after about 30 minutes. We're about 43 minutes, which seems to be par for the course every time I do one of these things. Anything that you want to pump up for our listeners? Are tickets still available? Anything like that?
I'm not totally sure on the tickets, but I would just say that we kind of broke down each player. I mean, our guys are giving their very best effort on a daily basis to We look forward to an exciting year. We're excited for first game of the year is a big one at Memphis, but just looking forward to turn the page, and it's going to be a fun year. We're looking to play fast. We're looking to shoot a lot of threes again, be disruptive on defense. I think you'll be really pleased with the mix of freshmen, newcomers through the portal, and our returning guys. And we're just really excited for this year. We appreciate all the support through thick and thin, and excited to get going here. First day of official practice was today, and what we did was, you'll probably see the video coming out because all of our photographers were there. Coach Gates has the band there on first day of official practice every year. So our players walked out with the band playing for them. We learned the fight song. We paired up in small groups with some band members. We sang it. We sang our alma mater. So really good collaboration from our team and the band members, and really special moment. And it's cool to see, like, those are like the creative things that Coach Gates always makes sure that our guys have those types of experiences while they're here. And I think that's really neat. So anyways, we're excited for this year.
Yeah, we are too. I think there's a lot of potential for Mizzou to be a surprise team. I think there's a lot of people who are in the doubter side, with I guess the last 10 years of Mizzou basketball to sort of fall back on. But I really like the roster, and I'm excited for you guys to put the product on the floor, and for us to get to watch it again. So yeah, thanks for hopping on the podcast, and wow, who knows when, maybe we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I appreciate you.
And I would like to say thank you to Missouri Basketball Assistant Coach Matt Cline for taking the time to talk to us. We did go about 12, 13 minutes past what I thought we would, but the conversation was a lot of fun. I hope everybody got to learn a little bit, and he was a really good guest. Missouri basketball did tip off its start of practice this week. We've got really about 5-6 weeks in practices wrap up. We have games, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Just as an update for the site, if you are a RockM Plus subscriber, we have brand new forum software getting ready to drop here soon. Very excited about that. RockM Nation next week begins our basketball full preseason basketball coverage. We'll have player previews for everybody on the roster. We'll have SEC team previews. The non-con previews are wrapping up next week. So we're really excited for all of that. In the meantime, hope you are subscribed to this channel, whether it's through the podcast or on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed. Head over to rockm.plus and subscribe if you're not already, and we'll catch you on the forums. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon. Last note, Thursday is me and Ken Pomeroy, so stay tuned for that. All right, thanks everybody.